I'm not even sure if I want to share this, to be honest. I wasn't punished for misconduct. I wasn't punished for breaking rules or for incompetence. I was just reduced to an assessment. And do you know what the worst part was? That the people who did it believed that they were protecting me. I worked inside a prison for nearly 6 years. I've dealt with violence, self harm, manipulation, chaos, you name it. But the most humiliating moment of my career, I was sitting in an office being told I was a liability. And I think I need to tell you what happened. Not because I'm looking for sympathy, not because I want a pity party, because I'm not that kind of person. I want to tell you about this because this isn't just about me. It's about what happens when safeguarding turns into control. So, last January, mid shift, I found out I was pregnant in uniform with keys that are attached to my belt inside prison walls. I went home at the end of my shift. My partner at the time and I had the conversation about something that I never thought I would have. And we decided not to continue with the pregnancy. A few days later, I took the medication. That week, I was on a 10-day stint. I went to my manager and I told her exactly what was happening. I I explained that I've taken the medication, and I was just letting her know in case something goes wrong. I didn't ask to go off sick. I said I wanted to work because mentally, emotionally, physically, I needed to be busy. I needed the landings. I needed my routine. And I needed to do the job I was bloody good at. My manager took me to her governor. We sat down, we talked, and we cried. All three women. And for one of those rare moments, in nearly 6 years of service, I felt seen. Not just a number, as a woman. They asked if I wanted to record it in the sick meeting, not shared like widely across the estate, just documented in case support was needed. Of course, I said yes. And that moment, I felt so supported. But then, a couple of hours later, my radio went off and I got called into the Business Hub Governor's office. I walked in and it was the male governor. He already knew what I needed. He started explaining my situation to me, telling me that I needed restricted duties until pregnancy risk assessments were completed. Pregnancy risk assessments. I told him repeatedly I was no longer pregnant, but he insisted. He spoke about risk, he spoke about liability, procedure. I tried to explain again. If you want to support me, just let me work, let me stay busy. But he disagreed. I I was placed on restricted duties for the whole weekend. Not on the landings, at a desk, organising some paperwork, printing stuff, escort paperwork, organising post audit documents. Just silence. A lot of coffee and tea and my thoughts. But do you know what happens when someone who needs distraction is forced into stillness? They think. And I had nothing to think about except what I'd just lost. On Monday, I was scheduled to meet the same governor at 3 p.m. to determine if I was fit to return to normal duties. My shift was 7 till 5, but my meeting was 3 p.m. So, me being me, at 7:30, walked into his office and asked, "Am I allowed to commence normal duties now, or do I need to wait until 3 p.m. to be ready?" He told me there was no need for bitter sarcasm. After I've just been reduced to a walking risk assessment. Eventually, he allowed me back to normal duties. but something really changed in me. I never trusted the processes the same way again. This is not about me. This is not about one individual. My manager and her governor were incredible. They stood up for me. They understood as women and as humans. This is about culture. It's about how quickly vulnerability becomes paperwork, how easily a human experience becomes a form on someone's computer. I raised the grievance, and do you know what I was told? That it wouldn't be processed because it was outside of the 3 month window. 3 months. As if trauma works on a timeline. As if courage has an expiry date. As if challenging a male superior is something that women just casually do without consequences. We all know how those stories usually end, don't we? So, at the end of my story, let me just ask you this. If the system can reduce its own staff to assessments, to being a liability, to risk, what does it do to the people in its custody? Support is not control. Protection is not patronizing. And safeguarding should never feel like humiliation. I'm telling this story because silence protects culture. And culture is what needs to change. This is my inside out justice, and I'm done staying quiet.